1. The danger of seeing what others cannot see. Have you ever walked into a room where no one had spoken a word, yet you could already feel the tension in the air? Have you ever looked around and clearly seen the roles people were playing, the masks they wore as if they were their real faces? If you have, it means you've begun to see, to perceive what others cannot, to hear what lies between the noises of the world. At first, you might think it's a gift. And it is, a gift of awakening, of seeing through the fog that society drapes over everything. But at the same time, you begin to realize that this is a dangerous gift. For once you see the game clearly, you are no longer a player. You become an observer, standing outside of it all. And from that position, you begin to feel your solitude. This world is built upon countless unspoken agreements. We agree that a piece of paper with ink on it is called money and that it holds value. We agree that a clock truly measures time. We agree that titles, degrees, and social status determine a person's worth. But if you look deeper, you will see none of these are truths. They are convenient agreements, collective illusions designed to make us feel safe and orderly. When you realize this, that money is only paper, that time is merely a concept in the mind, that fame and honor are but coats we wear, you step out of the collective hypnosis. You are no longer caught in the shared dream. Yet in that very moment, you also become a threat. Not because you are wrong, but because you disturb the game. Others are still deeply immersed in their roles, while you are the one who laughs. Imagine a group of children playing chess. They argue fiercely over the rules, shout accusations of cheating, and are determined to win at all costs. Then you, the adult, stand watching, realizing that it's only cardboard and little plastic pieces. You smile because you understand that nothing is truly serious. Likewise, when you see through the essence of life, you smile amidst the struggles that others treat as matters of life and death. But the world will not easily accept that smile. They will call you detached, irresponsible, perhaps even insane, because you've shattered the illusion they need to survive. That is the danger of seeing what others cannot see. This world endures because people agree to believe in the same dream. And the awakened one will always seem out of place. Yet this is not a tragedy. Because when you truly see, you begin to step beyond the cycle of fear, competition, and pretense. You stand amidst chaos, yet remain calm, for you know that all of this is only the grand play of existence, where each soul has temporarily forgotten it is merely playing a role. 2. When you recognize the game of life, when the inner eye opens, you begin to see the world as a vast stage. There, every person is playing a role. One becomes the victim, another the hero. One chooses suffering, another chooses victory. They argue, grow angry, and compete, all for things that exist only within their own scripts. But to one who sees, everything becomes as light as smoke. You watch their seriousness and softly smile, knowing it's only a game. Yet in that moment of realization, you unintentionally break the rules of play. Those who are still lost in the dream do not wish to be reminded that they are dreaming. When you smile, they think you mock them. When you remain silent, they think you are arrogant. And so the one who sees becomes a stranger among those still asleep. Alan Watts once said, "This world is a musical play, not a problem to be solved." If you see life as a game, you understand that winning and losing are both temporary. But most people do not want to hear that. They need to believe that everything is serious, that there is a purpose to pursue, a title to earn, a prize to win. It's like a group of children arguing around a chessboard. One yells that the other has broken the rules, another slams the table in anger. You, the adult, stand watching, knowing there's nothing to be angry about, that they're only moving plastic pieces. But if you say that aloud, they will scold you, "Don't ruin our game." And in that moment, you understand why the awakened are always misunderstood. When you see through illusion, you no longer get swept up in the storm of worldly emotions. You don't argue just to win. You don't suffer when you lose. You understand that everything comes and goes like gentle waves upon the sea. Emotions, success, failure, all are fleeting. But to those who have not yet seen, such words sound like an insult. For they need to believe that the game is real, to feel that their lives have meaning. Those who see are often called dreamers, lazy, or even insane. But in truth, they have simply stopped mistaking the stage for a prison. They still live, still work, still love, yet are no longer bound by invisible rules. They know that money, fame, and status are only props, that time is merely a curtain dividing scenes, and that all of us are but temporary actors in the endless play of the cosmos. And that marks the first turning point of awakening. You no longer fear the game because you know you can play without being swept away. You begin to live lightly, to play wholeheartedly, yet no longer believe that victory is everything. For only when you recognize the game do you become truly free within the great chessboard of life. 3. The price of awakening and the loneliness of the seer. When the veil of illusion falls, the first thing the seer faces is not light, but solitude. Because once you begin to perceive what most cannot, you no longer truly belong to them. Ordinary conversations feel shallow. The joys that once thrilled others now feel distant. You start to sense an invisible boundary between the awakened and the dreamers. You cannot fully speak of what you see. Words are never enough. The more you try to explain, the more misunderstood you become. People might think you're boasting, arrogant, or trying to be different. But in truth, you only wish to share something beautiful, that life isn't as serious as we think, that all suffering is temporary. Yet to them, such words feel offensive, because they touch the very foundation of the beliefs they live by. Thus the seer learns their first lesson, silence. Not from fear, but from understanding, that truth cannot be transmitted by words. Only when one is ready will they see for themselves. Before that, every attempt to convince only widens the gap. And in that silence, the seer begins to feel a deep loneliness. Not the loneliness of being abandoned, but of having no one left who speaks the same language. However, that loneliness is not a punishment. It is a purifying flame. It burns away the arrogance, the desire to prove oneself special. Gradually, the seer realizes that awakening is not superiority. It is harmony. Seeing more does not make one higher, but humbler, softer, more compassionate. On that journey, you may sometimes meet others like yourself, souls who have also walked through darkness, who have seen the essence of the game. When two awakened ones meet, few words are needed. A single glance, a gentle smile, and they recognize each other. It is the quiet resonance of those who have awakened within the shared dream. But if you haven't found them yet, do not despair. Perhaps your path is meant to be a solitary one. For the seer must learn to live in the world without belonging to it, to work, but not see work as self-worth, to love, but not turn love into possession, to succeed, but not mistake success for identity. The price of awakening is not loss, it is release. You let go of illusions, expectations, and roles. And when everything falls away, you are left standing with yourself, bare but free. For when there is nothing left to prove and no one left to persuade, you finally touch the peace the whole world is chasing. 4. The way of the awakened. Once you see through the game, the greatest question is no longer, how do I escape it, but how can I live within it and remain free? The awakened do not run from life. They live amid the noise, yet with a different heart. They no longer see the world as something to resist, but as a stage upon which to learn how to dance with impermanence. They understand this. Seeing through illusion does not mean denying life. You still eat, work, love, and create, but you are no longer bound by outcomes. When you work, you do it with joy in the act itself, not for reputation or reward. When you love as if there were no tomorrow without trying to possess. When you create, you let the current flow through you, without forcing it to be perfect. The difference of the awakened lies not in appearance, but in the quality of presence. They may be washing dishes, teaching, shopping, or driving, yet every act carries a profound stillness. For they know that life is not found in goals, but in this very moment. While others fix their eyes on the destination, the seer simply enjoys each step. Still, such freedom is easily misunderstood. Those who have not seen may think the awakened are lazy or irresponsible. But they do not know that these souls have transcended the addiction to control, the source of human suffering. Only when we stop trying to dominate everything does life begin to open itself as it truly is. 3 qualities help the awakened live lightly in the world: patience, humility, and playfulness. Patience, because they know each person awakens in their own time. No one can be forced to see before they are ready. Humility, because they understand they are but a tiny part of the cosmic flow. Awakening does not raise us above others. It teaches us to bow before all things. Playfulness, because they see that life is a stage, and only those who can laugh can truly play their part. The awakened do not seek to leave the game, but to play it consciously. They know that suffering, failure, and loss are roles essential for the soul's growth. So they do not avoid hardship, they welcome it with curiosity. They do not try to transcend life, but live fully in each breath of it. In the end, they realize liberation is not about escaping the world, but about seeing the world without being trapped within it. The awakened one walks as lightly as the wind, smiles like a child, and moves through life as though playing a melody, not for victory, but for the joy of being part of the music itself. And in that innocent playfulness, they rediscover what the world has lost: freedom, here and now. 5. Living with vision. Without isolation, without pride. When a person begins to see, they often stumble upon a subtle trap: the feeling of being somehow more special than those who have not yet seen. This is the most dangerous trap of awakening, for it draws you right back into the very illusion you thought you had transcended, the illusion of the self. You may no longer be intoxicated by materialism or ambition, yet you become intoxicated by your own enlightenment. You begin to believe that you understand more, feel deeper, and thus stand apart. That is when isolation quietly enters the soul. You look around and see others absorbed in their roles while you stand outside the play. What once felt like liberation gradually turns into a wall. And if you are not careful, your vision becomes a weapon, used to judge, to prove that you see while others do not. But the truly awakened understand that to see does not mean to separate. It means to belong consciously. They live among people without being absorbed by the collective dream. They empathize with the pain of others, yet are not consumed by it. They know that those who have not seen are not wrong. They are simply at another point along the same journey. Just as a flower that blooms early is not nobler than one that blooms late, both belong to the same garden of life. Thus, the true seer does not preach nor demand change. They simply live, and their very being becomes a quiet teaching. The peace in their eyes, the gentleness in their speech, the ease in their smile, these are silent lessons others can feel. As Alan Watts once said, truth does not need protection, for it has its own music. The seer does not shout, they simply let that music flow through every action. Yet it cannot be denied, the one who holds up a mirror is always in danger. When you reflect truth, people may grow angry, not because you are wrong, but because they are not ready to see themselves. Like a mirror shattered for revealing a face too clearly. History is full of such mirrors broken. Socrates forced to drink poison for asking questions, Jesus crucified for speaking of a kingdom beyond this world, and countless sages exiled or burned alive, all for daring to reflect truth. Therefore, the seer must learn the art of gentle reflection. Not to mirror in order to condemn, but to invite. Not to expose in order to prove, but to awaken. For truth, when hurled at one who is unready, can become a weapon that wounds both listener and speaker. That is the art of living with vision, to speak without imposing, to shine without blinding, to exist among the world without detaching from it. True light never boasts of its brilliance. It simply radiates, quietly illuminating even the darkest corners. 6. From the danger to the blessing of seeing, in time, the seer realizes that the very thing which sets them apart, the vision that pierces illusion, is also the most sacred gift life has to offer. Yet this gift blooms only when carried with gentleness. If you clutch it with pride, it becomes a burden, but if you hold it with gratitude, it becomes a source of light. The awakened know that seeing clearly does not mean leaving the world behind, but loving it more deeply, more truly. When illusion no longer clouds your sight, you begin to notice the delicate beauty in every small thing. The sunlight filtering through leaves, the song of a bird at dawn, the wrinkles on the face of someone burdened with worry. All becomes sacred because you no longer compare, no longer crave. You are simply here in this moment, whole, peaceful, awake. That is the blessing of seeing. You return to pure presence. There is no past to regret, no future to chase. Everything essential is already here in this breath. And when you live that way, you become a silent mirror of life itself, not trying to teach, not trying to save, yet others can feel something radiating from you, a warmth, a vibration of calm. But even in this clarity lies a subtle challenge, the spiritual ego. Sometimes, after transcending material illusion, one becomes entangled in the illusion of being enlightened. The ego whispers, "I am the one who understands. I am different." And the moment you believe that, you fall asleep again, this time in the dream of superiority. The true seer recognizes this, smiles, and returns humbly to their humanity, to laugh, to err, to cry, to stumble. It is in these seemingly ordinary moments that true wisdom is preserved. The seer does not strive for perfection. They seek wholeness, to embrace both light and shadow within. They understand that darkness is not the enemy, but the canvas upon which light can shine. Like a mirror that reflects every image without judgment, the seer views life with that same compassion. Yet the one who reflects must walk a delicate path, speak too soon, and they may be wounded, stay silent too long, and they may lose themselves. So they learn to weave truth into smiles, into stories, into art, into the simple grace of living. They do not need to prove, for true light never requires justification. And when they have walked through every trial, loneliness, misunderstanding, humility, and harmony, they understand that the danger of seeing what others cannot is the price of freedom itself. But it is the most worthy price. For while the world still dreams within its game, the seer has awakened, not to escape the dream, but to live fully within it, smiling, as the universe looks upon itself through human eyes.